Welcome to Self-Publish Your Book with me, Anne Manera. I'm so glad you've joined me on this self-publishing journey. In this video, I'm going to take you step by step on how to upload your novel, book of artwork, coloring book, or low-content book, and more to KDP. KDP is a self-publishing platform owned by Amazon, and it's free to upload your book, free to publish, but many people have a lot of questions about exactly what you need to do to upload that book to the KDP dashboard. So sit back and take a look at this video, and it will walk you through step by step on different books that you can publish. Let's talk about some of the books that you can actually publish with KDP. There's really no limit. Some of the books, for example, could be coloring books, journals. They could be low content or no content, and by that I mean lined pages. Or some of them could be low content that has template pages. You can upload cookbooks. You can self-publish kids' books, fiction, and nonfiction. Really, the possibilities are completely endless. Some people have actually published books of their children's artwork or their own artwork, or maybe a memoir. It just keeps going on and on. It's just so interesting to me about all of the possibilities that are out there to actually self-publish your own book. And in this video, you'll be able to apply the steps that I'm laying out to any of these books. I started my self-publishing journey in 1999. I know, way back then. And in 1999, the first book that I published was a dog treat cookbook. I know, dog treat cookbook. So I published this dog treat cookbook, and I went with Create Space at the time that has now merged with KDP. Since then, as of 2018, here it is May 2019, I've self-published 200 books that include coloring books, journals. Many of them are either low content or no content with just lined pages. I have several cookbooks, and I have several kids' books. Many of my books have been bestsellers around the world, and that's the unique part about KDP, is that once your book's on Amazon, then you will be able to get your book out on every Amazon site worldwide, along with other online retailers. I also hold a bachelor's degree in art and a master's degree in art, and I think that has really helped. But you don't really need that experience. But I think that I would love to share that experience that I have with all of you. So what are the steps, the KDP steps? Once you have your book's interior file and cover file finished, you can now set up your book in KDP, and that's what this video is going to talk about. So the following steps will walk you through setting up your book with KDP and in the KDP dashboard. So this video begins once the interior file and the cover file have been completed. And if you have any questions about how to get those cover files completed or how to get those interior files completed, you can certainly get in touch, and I offer some services that will walk you through that. So the first thing that you need to do is to go to the KDP dashboard, which is kdp.amazon.com, and sign up for an account. Register for an account and get yourself a KDP account. It's free. You'll be able to set up a username and a password, and that it will also go on and ask you for more information as far as payment and how you would like to collect that payment, tax information, etc., etc. So this video is going to walk you through each step once you get that account set up. And the great part is that you can set up this account, and then you do not have to go and immediately publish your first book. You can set up the account, you can take a look around the KDP website, and take a look at all the help articles that are there. There's a lot of information, and then you can go on and work on your book. So the first step to setting up your book on KDP is to choose the language. So choose your paperback's primary language. And if your book is in English, then you would select English, as you can see on the screen that's here. But you can go to that drop-down menu, and you can select any language that you would like to choose at this point based on the language that your book is actually written in. Now, if you choose English, this does not mean that your book is not available on Amazon Japan, for example. So no matter what language you choose at this point, your book will still be able to be available on Amazon worldwide in many different languages. And what the neat part is that once your book is put up on a different website, for example, Amazon Japan, then the book is actually translated in the description portion of it to the country's language. Not the inside of the book, but the description of the book. So keep that part in mind. The next step is to create a new title. And at this screen, it gives you the option to create either a Kindle ebook or a paperback version. We're going to walk through the paperback version in this video. And this video, so you would click on paperback, add paperback. And at this point, you're going to upload your book content, which is your manuscript or your interior file, your book cover. It's also going to give you the opportunity to upload or to write in and type in a description for your book, keywords to choose categories that are on Amazon, and you'll also be able to obtain an ISBN number, a free ISBN number. And we'll talk more about that as we get further into the ISBN number portion. In this next step, you will need to enter your book title as it appears on your book cover. This is so important. A lot of times you'll see people try to cram as many words as possible into their book title, and it really just goes against the KDP terms of service. So at this point, it's really important that you have your book title listed here in that first box, matching what is on the front of your cover. It also gives you the option, it's not mandatory, but it's an option to add a subtitle. So you can go ahead at this point and enter in your book title. Now, your book title should really be a very good description about your book. If it's a novel, or if it's a coloring book, or if it's a low content book, for example, if it's going to be gratitude journal, but you need to make sure that that matches your cover. If it does not match your cover, then it will be kicked out by KDP, and there's a lot of different guidelines that you will need to follow. On the next screen, it asks you to enter in your author name. Now, at this point, it could be this is the primary author or contributor. So at this point, let's talk about it as the author. So you're the author of the book, and if you're submitting a low content book or a journal or a coloring book, you're still considered the author at this point. And you can type in your first and last name. It gives the option for a prefix or a middle name. And then it also gives the option to add a contributor. Maybe some people have someone else that's an illustrator, or maybe someone else has someone that's an editor, and you want to add them into that, and you can add them at this point. If you want to use a pen name, at this point, you are more than welcome to add a pen name. So if your KDP account is set up in your real name, and your real name is John Smith, and you would like to add Jane Doe as the pen name, then you can go ahead and do that. The next screen asks you to set this up as a series. So enter this information for your book if your book is part of a series, only if it's part of a series. This is not mandatory, again, completely optional, and you can also enter in the edition number that is optional. I typically do not do this because unless I have a complete set of series of books published or laid out or planned ahead of time, at this point I do not do this, because if I want to call this a series of gratitude journals, for example, if I don't have more gratitude journals already planned out, then I would not do that. You cannot go back in and change this either. So that's the other reason why I really don't do this. So you can, if it's part of a novel and you have maybe a 3-part series or a 3 novels that are part of a series, and this is a perfect opportunity for you to actually add that. Now, the description. The next box is for the description, and this is what will appear next to the image of your book on Amazon. And as I said earlier, if you once your book is available on Amazon worldwide, it will translate into a language. Keep in mind that that's the first impression of your book, first impression that people are going to see about your book. So the description should be simple, compelling, and professional. There's a lot of ways that you can go back in. You can use an HTML generator to write that description so you can get bold font. But this is where you want to convince your reader to buy your book, and you want to make sure that you capture them. Keep in mind that most people on the internet do not scroll down when they're at a website. Same thing applies when they're shopping on Amazon. They want to only see what comes right in front of their eyes and right on the screen. So everything that you want your reader to know about, or your potential customer to know about in purchasing your book, should be right there. And this is the box where you'll actually enter that description. And you can see that you're allowed 4,000 characters at this point. You don't have to use them all. And you can simply just type in plain text at this point, and that's how it will actually appear. Or you can actually use an HTML generator at this point, which there are many of them out there that you can use. And you can type in HTML code here so that you would get bolder font, or you would get a list of different things, or you would get different size font. But keep in mind that this, once again, this description box is where you're capturing your reader. And you can go back in once your book is published, and you can go back in and tweak this and change this and rewrite it, and do as many changes as you want to this particular description. So this is not totally set in stone. There are very few things on your KDP dashboard that can actually be gone in and changed once you have published your book. Now, the next step is publishing rights. And this gives you two different options to select. One of them, in the first one, is I own the copyright and I hold necessary publishing rights. And if you click on the blue, it'll describe that to you. And basically, you want to make sure that you are the owner of that, not that text or that fiction or that written word or the artwork that's there, versus whether or not it is public domain work. And if it is in fact public domain work, then you need to actually state it there. The other thing is that KDP has really changed from when it used to be CreateSpace. And in my experience, it has really cracked down, for lack of a better word, on what actually is being published for public domain work. A lot of people will have grayscale coloring books, for example, or they'll use public domain artwork for the cover of their books, and it kind of pops back out and gets rejected at that point. So just be mindful of that. The next step is keywords. And keywords are relevant. They're words that are relevant to your book that make your book searchable on Amazon. So you're looking for a book. We've all done it. We've all gone on Amazon. We've all probably searched for something, and we're looking for something. Hey, I need to lose weight. And we'd say book that needs to lose weight. And type that in the search box, and that's where all the books come up in the search bar. Well, the keywords are what make your book searchable on Amazon. And there are 7 different fields, 7 different boxes that you can pop in descriptions. Each box is allowed 25 characters. And what I like to use is this particular format. And the first 2, I talk about what is the book. Is this a coloring book? Is it a journal? Is it a work of fiction? Who is your target audience? Are you trying to sell this to grandmothers, moms, teens, tweens, boys, dads? And what's the niche? What type of area you're looking for, and then what other words would describe your book would be in the last box. And here are the boxes that you would enter that in. So it says here that you can choose up to 7 keywords that describe your book. But keep in mind that each one of these boxes allows you for 25 characters, and that includes spaces and commas. So for example, let's talk about it being a coloring book. So on the first box, we talk about what is the book. And you could type into that keyword, into that first box, coloring book for adults and kids. There you go. There's one sentence. So you can use phrases, you can use words. And what will happen is the words that are chosen here are how Amazon would actually kind of crawl the site to find those keywords and then be able to place your book in different categories. And then that's how people will find your book, by placing those books in different categories, the keywords that you're using, based on people's search. The next step is categories. Amazon places your book in categories and subcategories. So you're allowed to choose 2 categories for your book. So for example, nonfiction could be anything that's nonfiction. There's drop-down boxes. If you're doing a coloring book, there is no coloring book category. We don't know why, but there's no coloring book category. You can pick a category that is relevant to your book's subject. For when you're dealing with coloring books, some popular categories for coloring books are art, crafts and hobbies, or mixed media. Some people use artist books, some people use individual artists as a category, but you really want to choose a category that focuses on the content of your book and the subject matter of your book. So, for example, if you're using doing a gratitude journal, maybe that might fall into the self-help category. That would be under the psychology category. So it's good to um, go into the category section and click on choose categories, and with this box here you can choose up to 2 browse categories, and you can click on that and it'll allow you to do that. Now, beyond the choosing 2 browse categories that Amazon or KDP is allowing you to do at this point, you can also go back in and find up to 10. So you can find 8 more categories beyond this that you would like your book to be popped into, and that could be discussed in a further video and a further tutorial. However, you can go back in and pop it into another 8 additional categories simply by emailing KDP and asking them to place the book into that category. So the more categories your book is in, essentially, then the more people and the more that book will actually be found. The next little box under there is large print, and you need to choose whether or not that's large print. What's large print? Usually it's anything that is 18 point and above for font size. Sometimes people choose coloring books as large print, but typically it has to do with font. The next screen talks about adult content, and does this book contain language, situations, or images inappropriate for children under 18 years of age? And you need to click on whether that's yes or no. And there's a lot of books out there that I noticed lately anyway that have just such profanity on the covers as far as words, and some of those books actually do get kicked out. But you need to make sure that you select whether or not your book has adult content or not, because that's really important as far as who gets to search that book and who is going to see it. There's too many things on the internet as it is, right? I'm sure you would agree that little kids are able to see. The next step is saving your information that you've put in so far as a draft or save and continue. So if you click on save as draft, then it'll take you back to the bookshelf or to the main screen of your KDP dashboard. And if you click on the yellow button, save and continue, that'll take you to the next screen where you can now get your free ISBN number, and you can upload your content for your book, where we'll start talking about uploading an interior file and a cover file. So there's 3 sections to the KDP dashboard, basically 3 screens, and this is completing the first screen. So we'll be moving on to the next screen, which talks about uploading content for your actual book. And then the last screen will talk about pricing. So we've moved on to the second screen of the KDP dashboard, and here we are, and we are ready for our ISBN number. Our ISBN number is required for a book to be sold either online through an online retailer or in a bookstore or in a retail store. Now, if you are selling a digital copy of your book, for example, you're publishing it on KDP, you're publishing it with this method, and you are now creating also a digital file for this, then you would not include that ISBN. So Amazon gives you the option at this point to assign a free ISBN number, which is by KDP. It also gives you the option to use my own ISBN number, and you can buy those on different websites other than KDP. You can purchase them. One thing you need to keep in mind here is if you choose to have that free ISBN number with KDP, you would not be able to ever publish your book anywhere else. So just keep that in mind. The next one is the publication date. Enter the date which your book was first published. Leave this blank if you are publishing a book for the first time. I typically leave this blank. This means nothing to me. You could put this date in, for example, and say you just want your book to be stated that it is published on January 1st. Then this is where that gives you the option. However, you cannot control when your book is released based on this publication date. So if you want your book to say January 1st on the publication date, and you submit your book on December 28th, and lo and behold, your book is completed and on Amazon on December 29th, then this publication date will still say January 1st. I hope that makes it. So that is just what you want it to see. So it's for show, basically. The next one is print options. And there's default options that are selected here, but it talks about the interior paper and type, and talks about the trim size and the bleed settings and the paperback cover finish. Now you can select black and white interior or black and white with cream. Cream paper will not be available for expanded distribution, which we'll talk about later on. But trim sizes, you can select a different trim size. So at this point, you can make sure that you select whether or not you want what type of paper, select the size. Typically, the norm is that white interior with white paper. And then on the bleed settings, you either want no bleed or bleed. Bleed means it goes completely to the edge and it runs off the edge. No bleed means it's a slight little margin all around the page. And then as far as your paperback cover finish, you get to choose between matte and glossy. Matte actually kind of gives almost a leathery feel. I prefer the matte one. Some people like the matte, some people like the glossy. It's really a personal preference. And then at this point, once you have selected to choose your trim size, here are all the options for trim size. And if you notice at the bottom, non-standard trim sizes, there's some different options, like 8.5 inches by 8.5 inches is a square book, and that means that it is not available for expanded distribution. And how will it affect your book? It just won't be able to be made available to other online retailers because it's just not a typical size. So in the middle, you have more standard trim sizes, and they range from 5.06 by 7.81 all the way to 8.5 by 11. Typically for a coloring book, I opt for the 8.5 by 11. When it's a journal, 6 by 9 or that 5 by 8 size is usually very popular, and you'll see across the top that that's one of the popular sizes, that 6 by 9. Now we're ready for the book interior. Big step, right? So you've already gotten your book interior all set up, and you have saved it as a Word template. You've saved it as a PDF file. So how do you get to that point? You can download a Word template from KDP, and then from that point, you can lay out the interior of your book, and then the final product needs to be saved as a PDF, only because it kind of locks everything in. So once you've saved your file as a PDF file, then you can go ahead and now upload your file to your book's interior. There's size requirements when it comes to the interior of the file, and the size requirement or the size maximum file size for a book interior would be 400 megabytes. So you really want to make sure that you're mindful of the size of the actual book. There's a lot of ways you can compress it, but at this point we are ready to upload your file, and it's now listed as manuscript. So at this point, over to the left, you see manuscript, and it's telling you that you can upload your paperback manuscript. So go ahead and click on Upload Paperback Manuscript in the yellow button, and that will allow you to search and find your file on your computer and then upload that file. It'll take a little bit of time. Sometimes KDP can joke around with you a little bit, and little things will pop up like, this is taking a bit of time. You might want to go grab a sandwich, which always kind of cracks me up. But I think that it typically takes maybe 10 minutes. It's not really that long. There's been other instances where they're a little backed up, maybe time of day, different things, as anything happens on the internet. And you might be able to, it might take a little bit longer. But they have kind of a witty attitude about it and tell you to go make coffee. And you'll also give the opportunity to do the same thing with your book cover at that point. And it gives you the option to design your cover with KDP Cover Creator, which is right in the KDP website where you can actually lay out your cover with different templates. I typically never use that because then my book will look like everybody else's. Or you can design your cover in Adobe Illustrator, which is what I do, Photoshop, GIMP, Canva, or any other type of graphic design software. Then you can upload a PDF file for your cover. And the upload size for the PDF file needs to not exceed 40 megabytes at this point. So you'll need to make sure that you compress, you'll need to make sure that you flatten whatever is there. They'll also give you an option to click on um, template sizes for your cover size creator, so that you, different than the cover creator, you'll actually be given the option to figure out what the cover size should be, and that's important. And then we go on to the book preview. And at this point, once everything is uploaded, you'll get a little message that says your book is ready to be looked at, and you'll be able to click on Launch Previewer. So you'll be able to preview your file to check for formatting and print quality issues right here on screen. And then at this point, you'll be able to either approve the proof digitally once we get to that, and we're going to talk about that in the next screen, or you'll get to back out of that and you can order a actual proof so you can see what's happening with your book and see what your proof looks like. So at this point, you want to be able to click on that Launch Previewer button. And it will make sure that it takes you to the next step. Now, one thing that you want to really pay attention to when we get to this book preview section is around the, so here's one of the books. Here's a book that I completed. This is a color by number book that I had completed. And you can see that there's a dashed line all around the book that's in red. You want to make sure that your book your book images for the cover are contained within those dotted lines, those red dotted lines. Over on the left-hand side, it gives you a quality check, and there's just some information from KDP as far as what the ISBN number is. It talks about all of the particulars, and if there are any errors in your interior or cover file, it will be listed in that left-hand side, in that column where all of that text is. And at this point, it gives you the option to click on a thumbnail view, because right now we're just looking at the cover, and we're looking at the back cover, and we're looking at the front cover. And this was uploaded as one image, one PDF file, as a cover spread that I had completed in Illustrator. Once we click on that thumbnail view, we take a look here, and now we can see all of the pages laid out here in this thumbnail. Now, what's important to remember is that if you want something to have blank pages on the back, for example, in a coloring book, you want to look at the book as a layout here, and you want all of your images to be on the right. So the right side facing page is where you want your image to be, and the left side facing page, you want it to be blank. And that will make sure that it will, when you turn the pages in the actual book, then it will be laid out the correct way. When I first started making coloring books, this was very, very confusing. And finally, I would actually sit here with a finished book, and I would flip as I flipped and flipped, and I would flip open the actual book as I laid out the next book in the computer in Word. And I use Word to lay out the interior of my files. I've done it for 200 books. I'm sticking with it. It's fine. So next we are moving on to pricing. And pricing means that we choose the price. So KDP prints your book, and then they subtract the cost to calculate the royalty. So there's no upfront cost with KDP. So they basically take the money off the top of the sale. The royalty becomes your profit. So it's whatever's left. So basically it's the rate of 60% royalty rate. So it's the printing cost times the 60 over divided up times 60% royalty rate equals the minimum list price. And then KDP provides a pricing calculator you can download. So typically an $11.99 book would, in black and white, 100 pages, usually about a $5 royalty. You enter your book's price in the list price field, and expanded distribution is the list price and royalty for the book sold with a third-party sellers such as an online retailers other than Amazon. You know, the royalty is much lower on expanded distribution, but at least to get your book out there. And at this point, there's two boxes that you need to pay attention to. First is territories. I always choose all territories because that gets your book out everywhere across the world. Worldwide on Amazon, you now become, your book sells, it's a worldwide bestseller. And then pricing and royalty. So this book right here, list price is $7.95, for example. And then it's telling me my rate is 60%, and my printing is going to be $2.29, which is usually my author cost also. And my royalty will be $2.48. If you take a look at the expanded distribution, which I've checked, you'll get a 40% off, 40% rate. So its print pricing would be $2.29. Your royalty on that book would be 89 cents. I'm not a fan of expanded distribution because the royalty is so much lower. However, it does get your book out there. And then if you click on 6 other marketplaces, you'll be able to see all of the royalties for different Amazon locations. The final steps to publication. We've come this far. Pat yourself on the back. This is a great step. Final steps to publication. You'll be given the option to order a proof copy of your book or approve your book digitally using the book previewer. At this point, after 200 books, I approve digitally, but I recommend for your very first book to order a proof copy of your book. When you order a proof copy of your book, it will in fact say proof copy right across the front of the book. It will say not for sale, not for resale, but it'll be stamped right across the front of the book. I don't like that they do that, but they do it because they want you to know, hey, that's a proof copy. And then once your book is completely published, you'll be able to order author copies, and those copies will not have that listed on it as a proof copy. But you'll be given the option to order that proof copy. And it's good to take a look at that physical copy, go through it, make sure that there's no typos, because we all make mistakes, and then you can go back in and make any changes. Once you've gotten your book, you've either approved it digitally and you say, hooray, this is done, or you have the physical book in your hand and you are happy with it and you want to publish it, you go on to this, log back into your account, and you go back in, and now you can publish your paperback book. And it can take up to 72 hours for your book to be available for purchase on Amazon. So some books take a little bit longer. I've seen books take up to 5 days. I've seen books take as short a time as 5 hours. So at this point, you're kind of at the mercy of KDP and the staff there in making sure that this book gets approved. So at this point, you publish a paperback book. Once it is published and it is approved, and you've approved it and you've clicked on publish, the next time you hear from KDP will be saying, congratulations, your book is now available on Amazon. And that is the most exciting part of all. So, final steps, we're continuing on. Once you've completed all the steps in your KDP dashboard, it's time to publish. So we've clicked on publish your paperback book, and we talked about being live on Amazon. You'll also be able to have a look inside feature on your book, and that becomes available in 3 to 5 days. So they just need to build that book's information, and that's when you get to click on the cover of the book, and you'll get to see some pages that are inside your book. Usually it's 10% of what's inside your book, so you want to make sure that maybe the first few pages of your book kind of give more of a glimpse about what is in there, or what's on your back cover will actually show what's inside the book. I usually keep a collage on my back cover of my coloring books. Keep in mind, technology has a mind of its own, right? So it's going to vary the publication time, and if you have a question about the status of the book, you can always contact KDP by phone or email. I typically contact them by phone, and I seem to get a much better answer. So now your book is complete, it's published, it's on Amazon, and it's officially live, and at this point you can order author copies of your book inside the KDP dashboard. The KDP author copy orders are actually linked to your Amazon account. So once you select whatever copy you want, you select the marketplace, whether it's Amazon.com or Amazon.ca, and so on, and then you'll be directed to your Amazon account to finalize your order and purchase right through there. Your KDP author copies can be shipped to your customers also. I sell a lot of my books right directly on my website. Many other people sell them through their Etsy shop, or they sell them through other online marketplaces. And at that point, you can so it's almost like KDP is a drop shipper at this point. You order the author copy, you make sure you go to your Amazon account, you put in the person's address right there in your own Amazon account, and you order that copy. So at this point, once I've selected to order this copy, here's my book, Scarlet's View, and I'm in the order author copies screen. And it's giving me the option to order however many. It says you can order up to 999 copies at a time. I've only ever ordered maybe one copy at a time of each book. And then you can select that marketplace and then submit or order. Notice to the right of the title, it does say author order. The book is exactly the same as it would be on Amazon. It's just at this point you're able to purchase it for your author price, and then you can have it shipped to the customer. Now, even though it's linked to your Amazon account, and it is actually linked to your Amazon account when it comes to purchasing, even if you have Amazon Prime, at this point you will still need to pay shipping. So keep that in mind when you have to set a price for your books, your hard copy books. You did it. You've published your first book. So celebrate. Tell your friends. Post it on social media. tell the dog, hug the cat, let everyone know that you've published your first book. This is a huge, huge, huge step. I remember when I first published my very first book, it was just this amazing feeling that, oh my God, it's published, it's on Amazon, and this is so exciting. 200 books later, I still get that same little butterfly feeling inside my stomach when that book is ready to go live on Amazon and it's about to be published. And sometimes I'll wake up and say, this is a great day to publish a new book. So it's a very easy process. I hope this has walked you through all of the steps and left no questions, no stone unturned at this point. And I congratulate you on taking this first step.